not having pattern recognition is probably the most detrimental thing on the planet. It's literally the most important skill on this planet besides for communication, right? Because if you could talk to somebody, you can get your way through anything. You know, if you're charismatic, it does not matter. You could just talk your way out of anything. But other than that, it's pattern recognition. If you don't know how to talk to people, you need to understand how to recognize patterns because it will really save you through a lot of things. And it's crazy how a lot of people don't have that. You know, I used to talk to my partner, Carvin, about it. He used to always talk about pattern recognition, you know, playing the game. Because when you play the game, it's really just patterns. Any game is patterns. Whether that's Call of Duty, 2K, fighting games, racing games, basketball in real life, football in real life. That's what all the concepts are literally based around. It's just patterns, you know, like the whole flood concept about like breaking down defenses and levels, you know what I'm saying? Having on different levels because obviously the guy can't guard every single level and there's not enough people on the field to guard every single level. So the patterns is really key to everything. And it's crazy because I really feel like a lot of people in today's age don't recognize patterns, right? And I'm going to explain how. Well, it's kind of a lot of people do, right? And you see it like on social media. Obviously, all of the influencers recognize patterns because they beat the algorithm. They realize what the algorithm wants and to get their stuff pushed out, their content pushed out because the algorithm is just a pattern recognition software. It recognizes what people like based on patterns and everything, and it pushes the content to people that they think it would like, right? And so they picked up on that pattern and they pushed it out. They gave it to people, right? And they were able to recognize that pattern. But not all patterns are equal, right? Because it's not just that simple, right? Like the pattern of making money, for instance, right? So like you go out, you could see a lot of influencers, but a lot of influencers haven't turned that into profit. Like let's take for instance Drewski. Drewski was able to recognize the pattern and he flipped that. That's why I used to hang out with like Jack Harlow, Drake, and all of that, getting like the Nike commercials and the DraftKings commercials and all of that to make money off of it and to flip it into money. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of like other influencers, they ain't been in no commercials. They wasn't able to scale it to that. They didn't recognize that pattern to be able to even scale it to that. And that's to their detriment. And it's on even a smaller level, not even, you know, influencers or like celebrities and stuff. Like you could see it in like hometowns and stuff. Like everybody talk about like how they family cursed generationally, you know what I'm saying? And they was able to recognize that pattern, but they couldn't break it, right? Because not just about recognizing the pattern, it's about breaking the pattern. If it's a detrimental pattern, right? If it's a positive pattern, it's about capitalizing on it. But if it's a detrimental pattern, it's about breaking it. And breaking that pattern is the best thing ever, right? And that's how you profit on it. Like take for instance the stock market crash 2008, right? The housing market crash. Them boys was able to recognize the pattern of just taking bad loans, flipping it back, people not paying it, flipping it back, people not paying it, flipping it back, and it was a pattern that was just inflating, in artificially inflating the market. And so when they recognized it, they was able to break it and capitalize off that, right? They shorted the market with the credit default swaps or whatever, right? And so they was able to short it. You know what I'm saying? And so like being able to recognize that is the best thing ever, right? And it's not even just about breaking it because it's also about timing, right? You gotta time it right because if you're not timing it right, then it's just gonna be messed up because timing is everything. Just like how Michael Berry, he was in there too early, and so he was constantly just losing money, losing money, losing money. But in the end, since he stuck with it, you know, he capitalized on it. It's just like in Call of Duty, like when somebody flank, right? Like Zuma. Zuma is so popular, but and his whole thing is called the flank because he was able to flank, right? Because Call of Duty is all about choke points and holding down sight lines and cutting the map, right? So if you on a choke point and you got like 80% of the map covered, right? If you on a certain choke points on certain hills, right? And if you able to flank them and break that pattern of people running through the lanes, right? Because since Call of Duty is such a simple game, 3 lanes, you know what I'm saying? It's only a certain amount of ways that you can go. If you're able to break the pattern, you could end up killing the whole team and switching it into your favor, right? And then as far as like picking up on the spawns, you know what I'm saying? If you spawning right here, you go ahead get the spawns from them, right? Break that pattern. Now we spawn on different sides, we getting splits, and now we hitting them from 2 different directions. Can't hold it down. But it's not just about flanking. It's also about the timing of it, right? And that's what made him so good, because anybody could flank. You could just hit a flank and somebody, they're gonna pick up on it, because that's also a pattern. People understand that is how you break the pattern, so they will pick up on you trying to break it by flanking, right? Because it's all about timing. You're supposed to hit the flank whenever they least expect it, hit the flank at the most lucrative moment, right? And that way you can capitalize on it. And it's crazy that so many people just fall into the patterns, bro. And it's really sad just watching it happen and feel so helpless from the outside. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing you could do about it, right? And it's sad to see, because it's everybody, right? Like I was watching this guy, Antonio Talks, right? I'll be watching his content sometimes. He talking about some stuff on there. And one thing I noticed, I don't know if he actually believes this though, or this just what he portrays, because like he a grifter, right? And I talked about this on my TikTok, him being a grifter. And he the way he talks about Christianity, right? It's like he groups everyone together in Christianity. And if you notice it, he's doing the exact same thing that like Republicans do. And it's crazy that people blindly just fall into the pattern of Democrat, Republican, when in reality you should really just do what it is that you believe in your heart to be true. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just voting for, I'm going to vote for the Democrat, or I'm going to vote for the Republican, and the lesser two evils. Bro, they got like 10 people on the ballot. You don't have to vote for one of those two. There are multiple people on the ballot you can vote for. If you just vote for who you wanted to vote for, then you could vote for it. And the worst part about it all is that the most prominent third party, which is independent, there is no identity to it, right? Because like Bernie Sanders joined it. You know what I'm saying? And it also got Republicans who also got messed over by the Republican establishment who joined it too. So like there's no real identity for the independent party. It's just like the outcast. They just need to make their own party with their own base, with their own thoughts behind it, and go ahead and do that. Like that's really what needs to be done. Instead, we got the top two parties, right? Who are like they say left wing, right wing. They two wings of the same bird, right? Because the bird is capitalism at the end of the day. The bird is capitalism to be able to have to make the corporations, you know what I'm saying, be a thing, right? And they just recognize the pattern and it's siphoning it out. And it's crazy how we not I feel like historians are the greatest pattern realizers, right? Because we watching it happen in real time, history unfolding and repeating itself. You know what I'm saying? All the way down to imperialism with trying to take over Greenland, right? Iraq war, how we invaded Venezuela for oil, right? And then down to, but like it's crazy with the Greenland thing. Bro said that he taking it so Russia and China don't get it, and Russia and China be our neighbor. Like Alaska doesn't border China. Like Alaska doesn't border Russia. Like there's like a 5-mile stretch in between them. And that's just crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry for that little rant. But the pattern is there. You know what I'm saying? ICE acting like SS officers. It's the pattern. And you just have to recognize that pattern and stop falling for the bait. Stop listening to everything that everyone says and just decipher it. You know what I'm saying? Come up with your own thought, your own plan behind it. Look at the pattern of them saying the same thing, the same talking points, the same way, right? Because both sides do it, Democrats and Republicans, because they're two sides of the same bird fighting for capitalism. Like Barack Obama, he's really a conservative at the end of the day, right? It's just that since he was black, he was a Democrat, because Democrats they use the pattern of Okay, so Republicans use the pattern of blame, right? They find people who want to blame others, right? Now, I'm not saying like as far as like money wise. I'm talking about like culture wise, the culture war part. That's how they get voters who aren't voting for the money, right? Because at the end of the day, in America, money is king, money is God, money rules everything in America, right? So the people who aren't looking at the money, they try to get those voters with culture, right? So the way they get them is by, dog whistling, saying that, oh, blame this person, oh, it's this person's fault that you, it's the immigrants' fault that you don't have houses, it's the immigrants' fault you don't have a job, right? Blame it on them. Oh yeah, it's them. Instead of looking at themselves like, oh, my resume not strong enough. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't have a job. The job market's terrible right now because of inflation and corporate greed. They don't want to pay people enough money, so they just not giving out jobs. You know what I'm saying? That's another reason. That would be too complex of a solution. So they take the easy way out, right? And the Republicans recognize that pattern, right? With housing wise, all of the private companies buying up all the houses, making false scarcity, like how they did with diamonds. You know what I'm saying? To drive the price up. They did the same thing with houses that they did with diamonds, but that's too complex of an answer, right? And it's even more than that. You know what I'm saying? So they just fall into blaming, and then the Republicans pick up on that pattern and capitalize on it, right? It's the same thing that happened during the Civil War, right? They got the poor white man to fight for the Confederacy, even though they gained nothing from having slavery be a thing, because they didn't own slaves, even though they participated, with their businesses, like they bought cotton that was made from slaves or whatever, but they didn't benefit from slaves, because at the end of the day, the slave owners were the ones who owned the slaves and got the majority of the benefit from it. But they dog whistled them and said, yeah, they gonna come and take your jobs, and boom, that was it. You know what I'm saying? Now, okay, now we fighting for you, right? It's the same pattern. It's just a pattern over and over, and they recognize that. And the Democrats do the same pattern with LGBTQ and the trans community, and along that lines, right? They go ahead and talk about, or we want to give rights to gay people, right? And so if you're gay, you're not going to, no matter what you believe monetarily, you know what I'm saying, for a monetary system or like social system, you're going to vote for the Democrat because they for gay rights. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, and they recognize that, so you could fall into that pattern. And Republicans are trying to do the same thing with black people now by talking about, or what about the black conservative? Even though 90% of black people aren't Republicans, because the true black conservative is Barack Obama, right? Because he wants to conserve the institutions that are put in place, the financial institutions, right? Because that's what real conservatism is conserving the financial institutions. And once you recognize that pattern, the pattern that the two parties do to just fund the same thing, which is the corporations, because they are the real elite ruling class. If you look at history, the way that the Senate was wrote, the Senate was the governor elected senators at first, and the governors of the colonies, because each colony was its own country, right? And they just came together, for financial reasons, because they had different forms of currency and they had to trade between each other, and they was putting taxes and embargoes on each other. So they came together for that reason, and they elected their own senators to represent them because they didn't want the people to have that much power. And the governors were just the ruling people from England who came over and owned that land. This is my state now. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy now that the president wasn't even a real thing. They wasn't even gonna have a president at first, but they was like, we just need a head of state to like represent us on like the world stage. So they just picked George Washington because he was popular. He's the general. He was popular or whatever, right? And that's the same thing that's going on now. Is Donald Trump popular, right? He the figurehead, right? The Senate is still run by the corporation. The corporation are elite people, right? It just shifted from landowners to corporation owners. And the people who own the land back in 1800s are probably the same people who own the corporations, except for Mark Zuckerberg, you know what I'm saying, Elon Musk. But it's the corporations, they lobby now to own the Senate and the House of Representatives now, because the House of Representatives are still doing whatever it is that Trump says. right? Or that the Senate says, or that the corporations say, because the corporations give them all the money, and they do what they say now, and it's the pattern that just repeat over and over and over and over again, right? And they got to take somebody to break the pattern. People got to start recognizing that pattern and breaking it, and it's crazy because that's the same thing that I had to do, right, in my own personal life, right? Because I grew up where everything came easy to me, right? Doing work came easy. I didn't have to study. I used to do homework literally the day it was due as the teacher was picking it up in high school, right? When I got to college, I had to learn how to study. And the only reason I was able to graduate on time is because I had already taken classes the summer before freshman year fall, right? So I had 2 classes of grace period, and so I used them. I used those 2 classes on. I made a D in one class. I made two D's in 2 classes. I never made an F, but I made D's in those classes because I had bad study habits, and only reason I was able to finish on time is because I had that grace of working over summer. But I recognized the pattern of me not studying equals me making a bad grade, and I broke it, right? Still not a good studier because I still procrastinate and wait till the last minute, and it would be better if I just like formed a habit, but I just procrastinate too bad. But that's really like the whole thing, the whole problem, like the biggest part. I feel like pattern recognition really correlates a lot to, IQ and intelligence. And it's kind of crazy, like how it's used bad for like stereotypes. You know what I'm saying? Like some people see like one black person stealing and I think all black people are thieves, right? And that's where you would see the people, that's where you really find like pseudo intellectuals. People who believe that they are smart because they see like the news pushing a certain thing, so now they believe, oh, everybody do this, right? They believe that it's a pattern, even though if you look at the empirical data, it's really not a pattern at all. And it's really a sad thing to see, and it's sad to see where we at. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing now is millionaires who recognize the pattern and made millions of dollars, right? That's why we got the most millionaires ever now. But because there's so many millionaires and so many billionaires, the millionaires got more money to spend, and the billionaires want to take that money, so they then they make the price of all of this stuff go up, quote unquote inflation, and now the people at the bottom have less money to save, and so they're just spending more money, and now there's more poverty, right? Even though there's more millionaires, it's like the gap just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's sad to see. And the same thing really happened in the NBA. That's why LeBron's still good. That's why KD's still good. That's why Curry's still good. You know what I'm saying? Because they're able to recognize the patterns in the game and capitalize on it. A lot of the young guys who come in are just skilled. They just know how to put the ball in the goal, but they don't understand how the game flows and how the game works. And teams value that. You know what I'm saying? You can see that in a lot of stuff that's going on. Just people who are skilled with no pattern recognition, with no ball IQ. That's going to be my new term, ball IQ. But yeah, I'm going to start doing videos like this. I really ain't got much more to say on this topic. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to, on my TikTok, I just do like little small takes, and I kind of like make metaphors and stuff. So like I made one about like the pattern recognition today, but I made it like how the kids, play with like the blocks growing up, the triangle going to triangle hole, square going to square hole. You know what I'm saying? I made like a little analogy for it. I do like stuff like that on there. On my Instagram, I'll probably go like make more sciencey videos towards like my major, because I'm working on my thesis right now. It's like kind of cool, and I want to talk to people about it, and like a lot of people I know don't really know what I be talking about. So I'm gonna like start posting on my Instagram, see if people reply, you know what I'm saying, talk about it. But I'm probably gonna post more videos like this probably once every week or something like that, probably a couple times a week. If you want more, you know what I'm saying, like it or whatever, Give me some comments. I got this inspiration from Paulie Walnuts. He be having like Call of Duty gameplay in his background, old school Call of Duty. I'll probably put up like some ranked gameplay from Black Ops 6 or something. You know, I ain't got no old gameplay right now. I don't have like a Elgato for my PlayStation PS3, so I can't get my clips off there. But yeah, I'm gonna make something like this. I might do something like how Gooby and Doobie be doing, where I'm just standing up in the woods talking or something. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, if you got this far, leave a comment or something, man.